Everyone, welcome to this talk. We're a bit late today, but hopefully we'll get started soon. I'm Harry and I'll hopefully be hosting today's session. I'm part of the outreach team here at YSJ, and Maynard is now going to give his talk. So could we have a little round of applause in the chat, please? So when you're ready, you'd like to go ahead.
Okay. Hey, okay. I didn't know if I was queued up. Right, I'm ready to rock.
Yep, ready to go.
Awesome. Well, what is up, everybody? This is actually my first time using this platform, so this is pretty cool. Kind of learning on the go, but I think we've worked through all the technical difficulties. I'm sad because I didn't get a chance to watch some of the other presenters, but hopefully I'll get a chance to go back and see everybody's wonderful presentations. But thank you, everybody, for joining in, and thank you, Wise Journal, for actually having me. It's an honor to be able to present on this incredible topic, talking about the timeline of science. For those that don't know me, I am Maynard Okereke, better known as the Hip Hop MD. I have a platform called Hip Hop Science, which uses music, entertainment, comedy as tools to be able to educate people on various scientific subjects. And today, I will be talking about the timeline of science communication. I am officially a science communicator, but I will give a little background about myself, how I got into this field, how I got into this line of work, how I created hip hop science, and what it is that I do now as a science communicator. But I think it's really this topic of going through a timeline of science, I think is really fitting for especially this topic of science communication, because one, a lot of people aren't familiar with what science communication exactly is. So I think it's good to get a little history rundown. And I know everything here is about science, but in order to really truly understand science, we have to know a little bit about our history. And so I'm going to go through a quick little history lesson for all you history buffs that are out there that are interested in a little bit of history knowledge. I think it's really important to have a good understanding of history to see exactly how we got to where we are in science, which is why I love this topic about a timeline of science. So I think you guys have my PowerPoint or my PDF presentation ready to rock. I see it here on my screen. So we're going through a history of science communication. You can find me at Hip Hop Science Show on all those platforms. Instagram, which I'm really active on. YouTube, which I have a lot of crazy videos, some of which I might show here today. And then also on Facebook, where you can find additional content for me. What I don't have listed on there is also my website, www.hiphopscienceshow.com. Really easy to find. See me, crazy glasses, headphones, lab coat, doing crazy scientific stuff all over the place. So that is me, Hip Hop Science Show. So feel free to go to the next page. Or I think I could scroll to the next page actually here. Next slide. There we go. Awesome. I have full control. See, we're learning. We're going through all the nuances here. All right. Perfect. Oops. Oh, I went too far. Just the second page. There we go. All right. So this is me, the Hip Hop MD. I want to give you guys a little brief rundown of exactly how I got to where I am right now as a science communicator. For me, entertainment has always been a passion of mine. Hip hop music was my very first love, was something I was always intrinsically connected to. But I was always a science nerd as well too. I know growing up for me, I used to explore ponds and different wildlife habitats around my area, and I just fell in love with science. I was a Nat Geo nerd, watched anything National Geographic, used to collect National Geographic magazines, used to collect these little animal wildlife stat packs of like fact sheets of animals. I used to just drop random knowledge on anything that was like wildlife related. It was just something that I was intrinsically connected to. But I always had this kind of weird separation, right? Because I was into entertainment, but I was also really into sciences. And for me, it was, I never really found a way to be able to connect the two. And so I just kind of went through life just kind of intrinsically just doing them separately. And so I ended up going to school at the University of Washington in Seattle, Washington. I graduated a degree in civil and environmental engineering. I worked with an engineering firm for a number of years after I graduated called Turner Construction. We did a lot of heavy infrastructure projects, high rises, condominium stadiums, built data centers for Microsoft, all sorts of really, really cool projects. But after I did that for a while, I really started to tap back into what I really loved, which was entertainment. And I really wanted to go out there on a limb and just see where I could go with my love for entertainment. So I left the engineering field, came down to Los Angeles, California, which is where I'm at right now, to pursue entertainment work. So I did a lot of music work, acting work, television work, and it really prepped me for what it is that I do now as a science communicator with hip hop science. I found a way to merge the two things that I love, music and entertainment and science. And now I educate people on various scientific subjects. And I use my love for hip hop music as references, as tools to be able to make science communication more engaging. Be able to communicate the typical science that you would see in various other platforms, but in a very unique way and in a way that I feel is more able to connect with my audience, which is a more diverse audience, really trying to get more people that look like me, diverse audiences, especially the youth interested in science. And we know everybody loves music, everybody loves entertainment, pop culture, and a lot of times we think of them as mutually exclusive fields. And I really wanted to find a way to be able to educate audiences and show them that there's science in literally everything that you do, whether it's music, whether it's entertainment, whether it's comedy, social media, show that you can find unique science elements in literally everything. And so that's how I developed the hip hop science platform. And it's something that I love right now because I'm really able to tell people stories and be able to educate them on all sorts of things, from space to quantum physics to environmentalism, conservation, wildlife, all sorts of different fields, which is what I really, really love. And so that's how I got to where I am right now as the hip hop MD. So with that being said, we are going to go through a nice little timeline, a journey through the evolution of science. So I'm going to go through my next slide here. So as I said, I think it's really important to really have an understanding of the past in order to really know exactly how we got to where we are right now in science communication. So we look at a little bit of history. And I'm going to go back, like way, 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 way back. This is officially Throwback Saturday, all right? We're going all the way back to the early days of science. At the really beginning foundation of science, science was a really individualistic field, right? The more in tune that you can get, the more in touch that you can get with your surroundings, with your ambiance, with nature, like that was what made you a good scientist, right? So scientists used to be out in the field, and the more that you can be involved and really just become one with your environment, with your surroundings, that's how you were deemed a good scientist. So that self-isolation, that belief you get a greater fundamental understanding of the world around you, that's how scientists used to do their studies, which is vastly different from where we are right now. And I'll touch on that as we get into the present of science. But we all know ancient Greece. We all know ancient Greek stories and mythology and everything. But the ancient Greeks were really important because they were really the first to really now adopt this fundamental form of science communication, the way that we know science communication as of right now. And I think it's really important to know that because it's embraced in so many different things. We see it in their art. We see it in their art, in their architecture, ancient artifacts. We all know the ancient Greeks were really into theater and mythology, and that was how they were able to tell and communicate different things about science. The philosophy was really the first fundamental method of science communication, and philosophers were really the early science communicators. And so having an understanding of ancient Greece really starts to get you into this world and understand this scope of science communication. I'm going to go through here my next slide here. Oops, went too fast. Oh, went too fast. All right, going back. Oh, it's not following me. There we go. All right, here we go. All right, slide number 4. Okay, so with that being said, the ancient Greeks really developed these two unique methods of communication. And that was really came from that, as I said, that individualistic method of science, right? That frame of thinking really just created two different paths that people now focused on and thought of as ways of science communication. And so I'm going to go through both of those methods here, and I'm going to be really interested in later on if people ask questions to kind of see if people are really familiar with this. But a lot of this was new to me. I learned this kind of by studies and really understanding, especially doing my research here. But the two really methods that came about from the ancient Greeks were the dialectic method and the rhetorical method. These were two different really popular mainstream methods of communication, and particularly science communication, that ancient philosophers used. And then eventually civilizations, people, the communities, everyday people started to use these methods, and people started to really favor different things. And so I'm going to break down a little bit about each of these methods. The dialectic method was really adopted by Socrates and Plato. We all know these ancient philosophers and a lot of things that they brought to the table, a lot of their readings and different things like that. But these were really, really important because the dialectic method was a search for the truth, right? You really wanted to, it was the really fundamental breakdown of what we know now as the scientific method. And so that was really, really cool to really understand because it was paramount to creating and flourishing civilization, and natural scientists, early natural scientists used this method. The other method that was really popular at that time was the rhetorical method, which was carried by Aristotle. And it was really, the purpose was an applied science. It was a way to persuade people. So it wasn't about finding the truth or seeking the truth. It was all about persuasion. And it was really interesting because a lot of old military commanders, Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, they adopted this method. That was how they were able to reach their troops and really be able to get a movement going and really be able to showcase people, this is what we want to showcase to you guys, by using that method of persuasion. And I think these methods are really interesting because a lot of them are still what we use right now in science communication, and it could be for the negative or it could be for the positive. So to really understand this background is really, really important. So as we continue to going down this path from ancient Greeks, going from rhetorica and a dialectic method, we start to go into the Dark Ages, right? And the Dark Ages were downtime in science. That's when illiteracy rates were high. And there wasn't any classical texts, right? We weren't writing scrolls and really documenting and really philosophizing anymore. Communication was very figurative in nature. It was used, architecture and different symbols were now used to communicate science. But then we go into this next wave, going through the Renaissance era, and that was kind of the rebirth of science, where we started to rediscover all those ancient classical texts, and people really started to get back into the philosophical thinking of science, really wanting to understand more. And a unique part about that is, we started getting to print media, which obviously we know now today as a unique form, but even now we've gone to this digital age. But that birth of print media, being able to write pamphlets and be able to get out newspapers for people to now have information, was a really, really, really unique area and a really unique transition for science. So that takes us to where we are right now, to what even I do as a science communicator. Science is all about teamwork. So we talked about how I was really individualistic early on in the early days of science, but now it's all about teamwork. And it's really important. You see now what YS Journal does as a peer review for youth, right? Everything's about validation. So in order to really put out important scientific information that people can understand and people can respect, you have to be validated by certain things. You have to be validated by your peers through peer review journals and different scientific reviews. You have to have verification from like your institutions that you work with. It could be your company that you work with as well, that gives you verification of your skills and your ability. These are so much elements of teamwork now that science is involved in, for people to now be able to duplicate what it is that you discovered and then be able to present that to the world and be able to state it now as science fact. And that's what makes science communication so great right now, because we have all these unique platforms that we can educate people on different scientific subjects, social media, the ease of access to information, the available communications. And I think this might be a good fitting point right here to go through a quick little video of one of my YouTube videos that I have. And I think you guys have it ready. Just for a matter of time, I'll just play one of the videos. But this will be my CES Uncut video, which dove into a little bit about technology, some current technology that we're using. This was at the Consumer Electronics Show, the biggest electronic convention in the world, and I had a chance to really touch base with some unique companies that are doing some unique things in technology. So if you guys have that video ready to go, feel free to play that video. I think it's about a 4-minute video, so it shouldn't go too deep into our time. And here we go. Artificial intelligence versus hip hop MD, round 2. Obviously, we have something amazing behind us. We're all familiar with Sony as far as their advancements advancements in the gaming world and electronic accessories, Sony is now venturing into the electronic car space. That's so crazy because now you see sometimes that technology that's out in the movies and it seems so futuristic, it seems so impossible. You're making this right now a feasible type of innovation that people can actually use in your everyday life.
That's our vision. We want to realize the environment technology in your reality.
We're all familiar with fitness and different wearable devices. What separates your Aura Strap from other products that are on the market?
We're boosting your Apple Watch. The way it works is that we track hydration level and body composition, like fat percentage, muscle mass, bone mass.
4-year warranty.
Yes.
Anything goes wrong, you will fix it for me. So if I'm walking and talking to my girl on my phone, I drop it and my screen shatters, you'll replace it. That includes everything: water damage, earthquake damage. If I run over my phone, if it's all my fault, you will still replace my phone for me.
If your dog eats the phone, car runs over, as long as you can give us the body back, we are fine.
Hey, I'm gonna take your word for it. I'm gonna get your phone and then I'm gonna throw it into the river. And if you guys don't replace it for me, I'm coming and finding one of you guys. People walk on your shoes, step on your shoes, and you know that's a no-no, whether it be in the club or whether it be at CES. You don't want people stepping on your shoes. So I got my fly Pumas on. These are one of my favorite pair of kicks, right? You see how fly these are. These are my joints, all right? Luckily, I found you, so I got a little scuff right here on my Pumas. We're gonna use wear to get this scuff out. It's morning time. I got a long day ahead of me. I wanna make sure that I'm well rested and I wake up feeling rejuvenated and refreshed. Hey, Google. Good morning. Okay, so what scent is this that I'm smelling now in the morning?
The morning scent is a citron and bamboo and rosemary.
Citrus, bamboo, and rosemary. I like that. Okay.
This device is a wearable wristband that has a microphone here on the top. It's capturing all of the sounds that are happening around you, translating the vibrational patterns that are felt around the wrist. And there's nuanced, distinct vibrations based even on the pitch of your voice and the intensity. So we've had some users who are deaf or hard of hearing that can identify if it is a male or a female speaking or if it's their son or daughter.
Or just through the vibrations on this.
Exactly.
These are pretty much box fresh. However,
I like to keep them box fresh.
imagine if you could give your workspace feedback of how you feel that day, and the workspace could change around you to accommodate how you feel and how you can best do your job on an everyday basis.
Where even keeping your kicks fresh and clean. How dope is that? Back, with the spin. Oh, beast mode, baby. Awesome. So thank you so much, guys, for sharing that video. We'll go back to my presentation, but that was a really cool video, and that for me, that really just showcases kind of where we're at right now and a little bit about what I do as a science communicator. We have all these different platforms that are accessible to us, all these different social media channels that are accessible to us, and it's really important to utilize our tools. For us right now, science communicators, we're in this world of digital media. And this access, this ease of access to information is so critical in order to be able to get proper information out. I think on this next slide here, I'm going to scroll through here. That ties in really to our responsibility of science communicators. The fact that we have social media and the fact that I can be able to piece together a presentation like that one that I did at CES and be able to release that to the masses to get them information about what's currently happening in the world of technology, the new innovations that are out there. We have a responsibility as science communicators to really be able to get the correct and the proper information out to the masses. And it's really our responsibility to draw that excitement and spark that curiosity. That's what fundamentally as a science communicator does. If people don't really know the description, the easiest way that you can describe a science communicator is someone that makes scientific knowledge easily palatable for the masses. That's kind of how I describe it. You really communicate complex scientific subjects in a really easy, formatted way that the general public can understand. So it's not highly advanced documents or different reviews or journals about like quantum physics and really equations and details. Is really making it in an easy, fundamental way that everyday people can really understand. And that's what I really find passionate about in my work as science communicator, sparking that curiosity and challenging people and letting them know the proper information of what's out there, what's on the horizon. And especially right now with our global pandemic, getting that proper information is so important. And it's really interesting to kind of see how our world has changed and how our world is shaped right now because of this pandemic. If you look at this beginning of the year, especially here in the US, when the pandemic first started to hit, there was so much misinformation out there. And people really need to understand that science is an evolving field. We learn things as we go through science, right? We do research, we do analysis, we do studies, we do tests, and we see exactly how things are working. We know so much more about COVID right now than we did back in February of this year. And that's just because of science. That's because of so much information that's been out there. But that's why it's so important as science communicators to give people the proper information, because as science communicators, we're responsible for saving people's lives as well, too. The fact that if we give people misleading information or we tell people that, oh, it's okay to go and do X, Y, and Z, then that could send people down a negative path, right? And we've seen that so much right now with politics and different things that are happening with either not disclosing the proper information or telling people that or not following science or not believing in science. Science is a fundamental field. It's a factual field. We can actually do tangible studies and really be able to understand what's on the horizon, what's happening, and then we evolve, we change. As we get more information, we now revise those studies and we say, hey, this is what we need to do now. Oh, now we need to wear masks. Everybody needs to wear masks, even if it's a cloth mask, to help prevent the spread of the virus, which was much different than what was being presented early on back in February. So as we learn that information, we now believe in science, we evolve with the science, and that's how we get to where we're able to get to in getting people the proper information. That's really our duty and responsibility as science communicators. So that takes us into the future. What is the future of science communication? Where do we go from here in this field and making sure that we continue to get people the proper information? Part of it, I really believe, is embracing technology. We know technology is the future. The future of our world is all based around technology. And that includes social media. That includes the rise of social media and whatever social media tools are going to continue to come out there. Because as our world gets bigger, as a population rises and these social media tools get more advanced, even though that, there's a weird sense, right? Because we use social media and in a way we're almost kind of distanced because we're on our phones, we're on our Instagram, we're talking to people, but we might not be physically seeing them, especially right now in this world of social distancing, right? But social media still brings us together. So really understanding that wave of technology and really knowing that technology is power. You look at Bezos, you look at Facebook right now, you look at Elon Musk with the advancements in space technology. These are different things that are going to make our world smaller in a way, because we're going to be more connected. We're going to be able to travel differently. We're going to be able to communicate with people differently. So really embracing technology and having that fundamental understanding that technology is this growing field, and really embracing that and really finding ways to utilize that now in our communication field is so important. And then obviously virtual learning. This really showcased by what we're doing right now on this live feed. We're doing virtual studies in a different times. We'd probably do this in person. We'd have an audience and we'd be able to communicate this to the audience and be able to talk to people and answer questions in person, right? But obviously we can't do that because of this global pandemic. And that's been showcased in so many different things, especially with our educational field. Now students are doing Zoom classes. They're doing on this Collab platform. Whatever virtual tools are out there now is going to be the new norm, because this is going to change. We're going to find more ways. It's going to be easier ways, because technology and science improvements and advancements in science is all about making things easier for people, making communication easier for people. The last two areas that I would like to touch on, I'm hoping I'm still good on time here. I think we got like 4 minutes or 5 minutes or so here. But is really understanding exactly the next wave in science and what's going to be so important as we continue to evolve in science. And one thing I really want to touch on is diversity in science. We're at a really unique time right now in our world with so much happening with racial injustices, especially here in the United States and all over the globe, actually. Everybody has different situations that are happening, whether it could be women's rights, it could be rights to vote, it could be political matters, right? There's so many injustices that are happening in civilizations and in communities all across the globe, not just here in America, but everywhere has different unique issues that are unique to their countries. But really understanding the importance of diversity in science, I think, is critically important for everybody. And when we think of diversity, you think about why diversity is needed. If you look at wildlife, right, we know of biodiversity, of unique ecosystems like the rainforest, which are one of the most biodiverse ecosystems across the globe. And it makes it such a unique environment because you have so many different elements going on. You have elements as far as plant life, insect life, mammals, reptiles, all these living in harmony and everybody feeding off each other, right? Biodiversity is so important when it comes to our environment. And it's the same thing when we talk about us as humans. The ability to be biodiverse and to get people from different backgrounds, different spectrums, different points of views to really come to an understanding really embraces and really helps us as far as our longevity in science, because we can't have a future in science if we don't have different voices speaking up. We don't have inclusion. We don't have equity and giving people optimal ability to be able to have access to education and be able to work together and to be able to have people in the workplaces and workforces, whether it be engineers or doctors and other medical fields. Having that diversity in science is so important in order to have that unique perspective. That's the only way that we're going to grow. That's the only way that we're going to advance as a society. So if there's anything that you guys take away right now, for me, I think is one of the most important things as our future as science communicators and as scientists is really embracing that diversity and embracing those unique perspectives and unique points of views. And that really ties into our scientific responsibility, because it's our duty as science communicators, it's a duty as a society in a whole to be able to make sure that we think uniquely and that we think in long term. And it could be in areas like conservation and our future impacts is climate change and different things like that. To make sure that we embrace these philosophical things that were used from early days of science communication and make sure we continue to embrace that philosophy as we move on in this world of science. And so I think that's kind of taking us ultimately to our time right now. And I don't know if you want to keep that slide up. You can close the slide or whatever if you just want to show my crazy face or not. But I think those are the really important points that I want to get across as far as this journey through science communication, really seeing how that developed and the fundamentals of it and taking us to the present stage where we're at right now and the different things that are happening and really seeing where the future of science communication is going. So that was really quick and we went through a lot of information, a lot of dynamic information. But I hope that gives everybody a good fundamental understanding of science communication field, the importance of us as science communicators, and why you guys, especially with YS Journal, is so important to have our youth really embracing science, because it starts at our youth level. That's the only way that we're going to make that a foundational element in everything that we do as we get into advanced careers. So I want to give a shout out to YS Journal for doing what they do right now and really be able to tie and unite the youth together in order to make this unique scientific movement that we're all going to be in as we continue in our future of science. So I'd like to say thank you guys so much. I think I went a little bit over my time. But thank you guys so much for having me. Once again, I am the Hip Hop MD with Hip Hop Science. You can find me at Hip Hop Science Show on all platforms. And unless there's anything left to go here, I'll let you guys take it away.
Okay, thank you so much, Maynard. That was really, really good. Your energy is really, really inspiring, and your enthusiasm for science is great, because presenting science in such an engaging way is really important now, of course, with this new time in which fake news and miscommunication is really having an effect on such big issues in our world, like coronavirus and like climate change. So that was a really, really, really good presentation to end our YS Journal conference of 2020. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you again to Maynard for a great speech. And we'll see you later. Thanks again. Bye.